that's beautiful, because you're all here for very different reasons, but many of those reasons crossed over. And my objective and my aim is to actually give you not just what you expect, and that is to be able to learn this technology called NLP and to be an NLP practitioner. And that means that you can apply it on yourself, understand yourself better, so that you can apply it with other people as well. So where you can use it in with your children and relationships and your partners, and of course your work colleagues as well. So it will all unravel and it will all start to make sense to you. My story, very briefly, is not unfamiliar to what many of you have described. I kind of had heard about this thing called NLP through my trainings and seminars that I had attended throughout my working life. I had also been in the recruitment industry for 15 years, and that was in a combination of living in London and in Australia. But I had always wanted to be in business for myself. So I retrained myself. I was always a creative person, and I retrained myself to be a beauty therapist, because I felt that doing something with my hands was something that I could do. So I went through the process of retraining and learning, and I eventually opened my own business back in 2004, which I ran for just over 12 years. And that is when I realised, oh my gosh, I've achieved my dream of wanting to be in business for myself. Now what? I can do the practical, the things with my hands. That's easy. I didn't have to think about that. That was automatic for me, because that's what I love doing. It was the business skills and the mindset behind helping me be successful that I struggled with. And that's when I came upon NLP. And that's when everything started to make sense for me, because what I realised was, in order for me, Karen, you'll relate to this, in order for me to be successful in my business, which was then going to spill over into my life, I needed to first work on me and build myself up to be a successful person. So a kind of a reverse engineering that starts here. It starts with us here. And the journey that you're going to be taking on today is going to be a little bit strange and a little bit challenging, but know that you'll be able, your unconscious mind will actually help you in your learning process. So when you're sleeping tonight and over the next week, you'll be starting to process the information that you're learning. You know how you can go to bed sometimes and you've got a problem, and you can go to bed and someone says, you say, I'm just going to sleep on it. And then you wake up in the morning and the answer presents itself. So we already practice some NLP techniques already in our lives. What I'll be doing is making you consciously aware of what it is that you do, so that you can actually apply these tools and these strategies with volition. And by that I mean you're taking deliberate, determined, focused action towards what it is that you want, because you'll understand what the process is behind it, so you'll know that you'll get your outcome. So fantastic. Thank you for being here. And the fact that you are here means that you're in that top percentile of people who are, we're not like everyone else. We don't think like everyone else. Does everyone have that feeling too, that, did anyone feel at school that they didn't fit in? That just, you're kind of creating your own pathway, but that's sort of, that's Hayley's way. And this will help you make sense of you, and all that's been, because you're all incredible, unique individuals and incredible human beings, and you all have amazing skills and abilities in your own right, regardless of our age. Age is immaterial. And I want you to tap into all of that experience, share it with each other, so that we can all benefit from learning. And I've learned some aspects of your lives that I wasn't familiar with before. So we can keep learning from each other. That's really key. Now, in front of you in your little goodie bag, where you were very keen to open, you have your manual, your NLP Practitioner Manual, but it's not the complete manual, it's just today's, otherwise it would be a little bit too overwhelming. But my question to you is, will you be an expert NLP practitioner after these 4 days, these 2 weekends? No. Will you be an expert NLP practitioner if this course was 7 days or 3 months? No. You need to actually practice and apply the skills, the learnings and the techniques that you will learn, so that they do become habitual, so that they do go into your unconscious mind and they become a part of you, and everything becomes nice and easy. And the way that I'm going to help you for these skills to become habitual is through your 30-day journal plan there. Now, it's a 4-week program where you will start to use on a daily basis, so that you can start to see the changes that you're making along the way, and you make observations, and what you'll realise, it's the little things that count. It's not the big stuff. I think we think as human beings there's a secret, and there's this big elusive secret, but there's not. There's a lot of little things that we can do that actually makes the big changes for us in our lives. So all most of us need is a little bit of fine-tuning, and apply everything that you learn, and think of it in terms of, how can I apply this situation to my life? How can I apply it in this situation, in this area of my life? That's the mindset that I'd like you to start thinking with. Okay, this is interesting. How can I now apply it and make it work for me? That's how I'd like you to be thinking. Now you're going to be following a map, if you like, and this map is your NLP journey. So I'd like you to think of it in terms of, you're going on a road trip and you're in the car, and you've plugged in your destination in your GPS, and but you don't know, you haven't been to this destination before, so you're going to be unfamiliar with the roads, the layout of the land, and there might be some challenges and some obstacles along the way. You might even find that you actually get to a part of a new road where the GPS hasn't even updated. So then, oh my gosh, there's an obstacle that we've hit. So that's what NLP is like. Life isn't as straight as going from, okay, I'm here and I want to go to here. Life's not like that, is it? It's full of obstacles and challenges along the way. So it's more like, okay, we're taking this journey and we're going to go round that obstacle, and then we're going to figure out a way that we can get back onto this road again, and then we can go forward. That's what NLP will give you, the actual tools to be able to identify this obstacle and this problem, know which tool is appropriate for that particular problem, so that you can deal with it, cope with it, and move on. The secret is the letting go. We need to let go of this problem, not keep carrying it with us into our future. And that's one of the real keys with NLP. You let that go. And that is what's freeing. That's what helps you to find solutions, to find peace and even inner harmony within yourself. When you let go of these things, we tend to carry them with us. And the more we carry them with us, the more instances, in fact, we have of problems. Say this is an instance of anger that you've had, Jay. All your instances of anger in your life are all linked, like a big chain. And there's other emotions as well: hurt, sadness, guilt, and fear. And each of those negative emotions has their own chain attached to it. So if you are holding on to any of these negative emotions, and think of this as like one of those those superhuman contests where they pull a truck, strongman competitions, they pull a truck. If this is a link that's strong and thick and heavy, and it's all of the situations of anger in your life, if you keep carrying them with you, then they're getting heavier and heavier as you're going through your life. So the good thing is that you can learn how to let it go. So you can let go of sadness in your life if it's not serving you any purpose going forward. If you've lost someone in your life, there are times when you do need to grieve. I'm not saying that it's ignoring it, but there are times in your life that if you're still carrying it with you in life, that it's not serving you any purpose going forward. So it's the strategies and the tools that can help you let go of this so that you can move forward and be in a much bigger and brighter future, because that's what we want for you, a bigger, brighter future. To help you create a bigger, brighter future, we're going to be taking an Aladdin's kind of lamp journey. And if you remember the story of Aladdin and his lamp, he entered the cave full of treasures. And these were treasures beyond his wildest imagination. And if you remember the story, he was tricked into going into the cave, young Aladdin, by an evil magician. And this evil magician was disguised as his long-lost relative. So he was tricked to go into the cave, and there in this cave he found this unusual object that caught his eye. And when he dusted it off, remember what happened? The genie appeared. And the genie granted him some stories say it's 3 wishes, some stories say it's 1 wish, some stories say it's unlimited wishes that this genie was able to grant. But today we're going to experience this process, and your genie is going to grant you 1 wish, and that will absolutely come true for you. And then we're going to take a magic carpet ride. And we're going to take a magic carpet ride into your future. And you're actually going to create, with your imagination, the future that you want for yourself. So that's what's in store for today. So I'd like you to remember that you're on a journey. So put your safety belts on. Buckle up, strap yourselves in.
Wow.
And are you ready?
Yes.
Beautiful. Okay. So let's look at what we're going to remember in my welcome kit, I asked you just to think about what some 12-month goals that you might want to set for yourself. And I also asked you to think about some habitual behaviours that you might like to change as well, and an area of your life that might not be particularly working out for you that you've identified and that you'd like to change. So we can work on all of that as well. And if there are any areas of conflict, personal, relationship, or in a work environment, any setbacks that have occurred in your life that you'd like to go through, that's what we'll be covering today. And areas where you might have a limiting block, and this, Karen, might be something that where you're already feeling that you might have a block, and we'll explore that for you too. Okay, so the actual, you also have the opportunity to go through the process to be certified as an NLP practitioner. Now that's absolutely by your own choice, and that is to complete the certification test at the end of this. And my courses are actually co-branded with the company that I attended my NLP through, and I know, Jay, this was of interest to you, with Quantum Change Seminars. And I'm really honoured to have been able to set up that collaboration with my mentor and my trainer from George Fadul from Quantum Change Seminars. As far as I know, I'm the only person that he has allowed the co-branding process, so I'm really honoured for that. And so that's what's available to you, and it will have George's name on there and mine as well. So you've got your 4 days training, which will be 20 hours in this room, and then the expected time for you to complete your 30-day action plan is about 50 hours. Home study, you might need to go through your manual again, about 45 hours worth, to really start to integrate it into your daily habits and your processes. That will help you to complete the test, and the test is about 50 questions. And which totals about 130 plus hours, and that's the minimum requirement for anyone to be certified. That's the NLP kind of regulations to be able to be certified as an NLP practitioner. So the 30-day plan will help you bit by bit. It's the little things that you do each day is the good recipe. Remember to be ambitious enough to be patient, and to be patient enough to be good. Just a little quote I like. Here's George, so you get a look at George. Now I'm also co-authored in the printing of the special edition of this book, How to Get a Bigger Bite Out of Life, and that's my gift to you as well for joining this certification training. And it is a whole training system in its own entity called the Bigger Bite system. And so I'm authorised and trained to train that Bigger Bite coaching system as well. And I'm also have a whole suite of personal growth and development courses that I can train to corporate organisations, such as customer service skills, telesales skills, communication, time management, and business writing skills and etiquette skills. So that's other areas of training that I do as well. As well, you may have seen me on Facebook or attended some of my public courses that I've also, workshops that I've given, and I've given those to networking associations, co-working space members, such as here. I'll be doing here in another about 6-8 weeks. And they are motivational type seminars and trainings in entrepreneurial mindset. So that's the kind of work that I do as well. When I was attending my NLP course, George said that NLP is like acquiring a mature judgment, in that it helps you to find the pathways for your reasons, and in doing that you can actually get some peace and harmony in your life. I was sick and tired at that time in my business, working really hard, long hours, like many people do in their businesses when they're in their solo business. And I was sick and tired of always struggling within myself internally of, there's got to be an easier way. I'm making this difficult for myself. That was kind of always the feeling that I had. And that was the reason why, I started on that NLP journey. And when George said, this will help you achieve that inner peace and harmony, that really spoke to me. And I thought, I don't want my life to be a struggle. I want everything that I do to be nice and easy breezy. Sure, it's still going to require work, but you want it to feel inside that you're not struggling within yourself and doubting yourself, and all those negative talk, self-talk that we put ourselves through. And that's what has become easier in order for me to be and feel much calmer inside about moving forward. So So also in the future, this journey might interest you in taking your learnings further, as it did with me, and the next step, natural step for you would be to take a Master Practitioner Certification. So at practitioner level, you're able to use and apply the skills on yourself and your family and friends, and of course, within your work situation, in communicating with your colleagues. However, if you are an educator or a therapist, and if you are paying clients one-on-one, and your purpose is to help them transition or change, then Master Practitioner is a must level for you to achieve. A lot of people are drawn to NLP who are therapists in lots of different fields. So trainers, as in teachers and trainers, yoga teachers, anybody that helps people, business coaches, anybody that works with somebody on one-on-one really should do that next level. And because I'm passionate about speaking and I love sharing and motivating people through words, I am a member of Toastmasters International, and we attended a Toastmasters International conference in KL just last weekend, and that was absolutely awe-inspiring, and I'm now setting myself a new goal to be presenting on that stage, to be presenting to a bigger audience. So one of my passions is to be actually be able to put together a program on speaker training. So that's coming up in the future. So let's have a look where we are. A message from George. You'll be glad to know that I've whizzed you through already. NLP is a liberal education. We're on page 8. Now, I don't know what it was like for you when you went through school and primary, secondary, tertiary education, if you went through tertiary education. But it kind of only takes you a certain way, doesn't it? It gives you a whole bunch of skills, and you think you now know in hindsight that you're never actually going to use and apply half of the stuff that you learned at school. And you do wonder why they don't teach NLP at school, because it would, the question is, would it really? It probably would equip you in life much better. So that's George's approach to it. That NLP or INLP, as I'll explain the distinction in a little while, is a liberal education that is giving you life skills to move forward. And it's meant to be educational, it's meant to be enjoyable, it's meant to be enlightening, it's meant to switch on those light bulbs for you, and it's meant to be motivational. So NLP is meant to be all of those things. Let's look at how you can get the most out of this training. Because it's an intensive training, and we do have 5 hours over the 4 days to make up that 20 hours, it's pretty intense. I need you to be approaching it with curiosity. And by that I mean like a childlike curiosity. You remember being a child and just being carefree and fun and daydreaming? Have that kind of daydream type curiosity about something. How might this apply for me? Just really, really think about it in those terms. And if you're flexible in your own behaviour and you're open-minded, you'll be able to be in that space. Choose your state. Your state is how you want to feel. If you want to feel upbeat, and if you want someone else to feel upbeat, if somebody's down in the dumps, you meet them for coffee and you think, oh God, if you want to lift their spirits, you need to lift your spirits first inside, not be affected by their behaviour. You need to change inside first so that you can affect their behaviour on the outside. That's how it works, and we'll go into that in more detail. So choose your state. Be in an up time state is what we call it. Do the exercises to the best of your ability. don't practice what you already know. As I've said, there are skills and experiences in this room that's quite vast. Don't practice what you already know, practice what's challenging and difficult for you. That's what will give you the breakthrough. And only practice NLP, even if you know other things, okay? And most of all, I want you to have some fun. Now, we can change the timing on our lunch breaks a little bit. If 1 hour is too much, we can bring it down to 45 minutes, and then we can have a 15-minute break so that I can get you out of here as close to 4 o'clock as possible. Okay? It's just depending on how some of the exercises go, but sometimes an hour is too much, and all you're doing is you're just waiting around for 15 minutes for us to start again. So when we get to the lunch breaks, we can have a vote as to whether or not would you like an hour or 45 minutes. So I have provided some snacks. I hope you have also bought your own snacks. Please feel free, if you're feeling hungry, do have something to eat here. It's not formal here. Just relax, chill, have water. If you need a bathroom break, please just go and take a bathroom break. Be comfortable. Be comfortable. Be hydrated. Goshia, water is so important. Just a 2% drop in our hydration rate gives us the fuzzy brain syndrome, and that then makes us lose focus. So keep hydration. Keep hydrated. And in fact, George dedicates a whole page to water on page 10. That's how important.
Is it possible to get a coffee here or no?
Yes. In the afternoon tea break, I have already organised tea and coffee for you. So if you would like to bring a coffee with you in the morning, please do.
Starbucks.
The Starbucks is only, yes.
It is?
In the atrium A.
Oh.
Where's atrium A, Gladys? Gladys can take us there.
You know, you're the only person who knows.
I already know this place.
Won't you? Yeah. You're the one that knows it. Yeah. So please, but obviously, teas and coffees are going to dehydrate you. Our preferences, our preferences for water. We want to keep those cells hydrated. Yeah. There's some raisins there to give you a little bit of boost of energy. Okay. So please do take care of your own well-being. Darren must be hungry. Yeah. Okay. So also, other ways for you to get the most out of this training is to keep an open mind. Take your notes. Now, just a tip: you'll find that there are the page numbers is what we'll be following, and you'll find on some of them there's a tick. That's a hint. So if you are wanting to actually go through the certification test, that's the page you need to pay attention to, because that will definitely be there'll definitely be a question on that in your test. So I've got highlighters there for you, so you can put a big tick highlight on that page if that page contains a tick, because that will help you in your when you're completing your test. And have a spy-like quality. Do you all know the story of Sherlock Holmes, the spy? He could uncover things remarkably, couldn't he, to get to what the hidden meaning was, or the reason behind things. So pretend that you're a spy here these next 4 days. Be a good listener and go for excellence. Now you will have all seen this throughout your life and your education. Anyone recognise that? Bell curve, yes, absolutely. So the bell curve actually applies to lots of things in our life. It also applies to learning. Remember, in learning, there were some subjects that all we wanted to do was pass them. Not just me, everyone's experienced that, yeah? So passing is about here. And in order to get 100%, it's about there. So what I'd like you to do is challenge your thinking in thinking of this as in a way of, I'm going to master this, I'm actually going to apply this in aspects of my life so that I master this particular skill. And then that's when you'll start to see a difference. Because what you'll find is the difference between passing and going for excellence is actually only a little bit extra work. Only requires just that little bit more focus and that little bit of extra effort for you to actually get a better result. If you remember the subjects that you excelled in, where you were excellent in and reached close to 100% in, they were the ones that was easy. So with just a little extra effort, make these processes easy and make them work for you, and have a mindset of going for excellence and mastering the skill. My aim is to evolve you as people, to tap into that, the deepest recesses that's inside you. We're going to uncover them, and it can be a bit emotional at times, because when you kind of tap into that little sore spot, that's the one and the area that will give you the most breakthrough. So expect to go on an emotional journey, and if you do have a breakthrough, you know, I think that's fantastic.
Then we need Kleenex?
Took the words out of my mouth, Gladys. There's tissues here for that. There's tissues here for that. So, but the good news is we're in a room where we'll have chance to get to know each other. You can let it all hang out. You know, you really can feel that you're in a safe environment here, and that if you are feeling a bit vulnerable, a bit emotional, just let it all out. We're all here to support you, and that could actually be the biggest breakthrough that you're looking for. Oh, questions. Now, because we're a small group, in a large audience type of arrangement, I would filter and screen questions. But because we are a small group, it's likely that I can handle a question as we're going through. What you may find is a question that you have is also, that someone is asking, is a question that you have too. But also you may find you might just need to just hold on to that question for a moment or two, because you might find it's answered in the subsequent lesson as we go through, okay? But I do have little cheat cards there for you. Just jot down your question, and then if it's not answered, then we can come back to it, or you can give it to me in the break, and at the commencement of each break section, I can go over your questions as a means of recapping, okay? No recording, but you know, if you want to take some selfies and some video, or a little quick video, we can do that. Johan, my videographer, is actually recording this so that I can use this as an introduction to NLP in my marketing. So thank you very much for allowing me to do that process. And I'm also recording via audio the whole 4 days, so that will be an extra resource available for each of you to purchase if you wish, and that could be part of your home study revising as well, listening through audio the whole course. Phones, yes, onto silent. And please, if you do have a problem, if you do have an issue with anything at all, please come and speak to me. Please don't talk to each other. Please come and see me. And be back on time. We've got some anchor music happening. Today is all about Pink's Let's Get This Party Started. All right. So let's get this party started. And I'm going to tell you a story. And you'll need pencil and paper, because I'm going to ask you a question at the end of the story. Oh, and there's some extra writing note paper here for you as well. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question at the end of the story. So I'd like you to pretend that you're a driver of that bus, and you're going on a journey. and you're going to be picking up passengers along the way. So you're on the bus and you're driving, and you start on your bus route, and you drive 4 kilometres. And each time you pick up a passenger, you're going to charge them 2 ringgit. Okay, it's the rapid bus. And so the first time you drive 4 kilometres, you stop and you pick up 4 passengers, and you charge each of them 2 ringgit. And you drive another 2 kilometres down the road to the next bus stop, and you pick up another 2 passengers. You drive another 6 kilometres on your bus route, and you pick up 2 passengers, but 3 passengers get off. And you drive another 4 kilometres down the road, and you pick up 2 passengers. Now, my question for you is, what is the colour of the driver's eyes? Anyone? You're Johan! What is the answer?
The answer is my eye.
Yes, you. It's you. Because if you remember, I said I want you to pretend that you're the driver of a bus. So if you were the driver of the bus, you would remember, you would know the colour of your eyes, the colour of your hair, what your hobbies are, what your interests are. Now, that's just to shift you in your thinking of focus, because it's really important that you focus on the right stuff. And in your focus, have a laser light focus, not a light bulb scattered approach to your focus. So try to have a laser-like focus. And in doing that, you're accepting responsibility for your learning here. Okay? You're the person who's in charge. You're the person who's driving that bus. So my intent for you is to set an intent to transform you into the best NLP practitioner that you can become. That's my intent. And I'd like you to also set that intent of yourself. Apply everything you learn to your own needs and specifications and specificities. Thank you. Now we're going to go through some NLP, what we call NLP interventions, NLP strategies, NLP modelling. And today we're going to do setting your goals. We're going to do your setting achievable outcomes, so smaller term goal setting. And you're going to learn NLP interventions such as breaking someone's state or changing someone's state. And this is where it's really important in communication. And that's why it's the first NLP intervention that you learn. And we're also going to ignite your own sensory acuity and your rapport building skills to be able to communicate more effectively with the people around you. And in fact, with anybody that you come into communication with. Because as soon as there's one other human being involved, then it requires us to have our sensory acuity switched on and to be in rapport with that person for us to have effective communication. So there's some lots and lots of techniques and tools that we can use there. A lot you will already be applying. You'll be already doing this very naturally and normally anyway. That's because we are used to building relationships with people, and we do a lot of this naturally. I'll be just bringing what it is that we do, the process, to your conscious awareness so that you understand the process behind it. Tomorrow we're going to talk about language. Our middle name is linguistics, neuro-linguistic programming. So language does play a very big part in controlling the words that we say to have an impact on the outcome that arises. And hypnotic language patterns is a beautiful method to bring about change in someone. We'll talk about the power of metaphors. That's our storytelling ability to impact others. And a new behaviour generator. So this is the process that will enable you to acquire new behaviours that perhaps you feel that you're lacking in or that you would like more of. And it is an NLP intervention that will enable you to acquire new skills, and it's very, very empowering. Subnormalities, we'll talk all about that. Godiva chocolate pattern, swish pattern. Don't worry about the label. Don't worry about what it's called. I don't want you to get hung up on that, because a lot of trainings are, there's lots of labels to things, and in the world of NLP, it's full of jargon. And don't worry about the label. What I want you to get is the meaning that lies underneath the label. Okay, bless you.
Thank you.
And now you might be in a corridor there of the air conditioning. Now, who's read some NLP books? Some YouTube videos on some famous gurus in NLP? Joe, you have, haven't you? Who do you like? Who do you listen to? Anyone in particular?
Actually, I bring that. Just the introduction book of the
Introduction of NLP.
Yeah.
Is it the Richard Brandler?
this one.
Oh, excellent. Is it? Who's it?
For an introduction.
Oh, Susan Sanders. Yeah, Susan Sanders. And of course, Linda, you've been and seen the guru Tony Robbins. Now, the Tony Robbins, of course, is NLP's marketing genius. So it's fantastic. But isn't it interesting that I picked up on what you said about having attended his seminar? What, 2,000 people in the room?
Wow. It's a stadium.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah. Don't you find with some trainings that you attend that has that rah-rah component? You might have seen it downstairs as you were coming in. They were really doing a really big rah-rah session for the MBI members that are part of this MSOGO. And sometimes when you're at a rah-rah, you just get caught up and don't you? And you go along with it, and you come out of it and you think, oh wow, what was that? But you're motivated and you're enthusiastic and you're, oh yes, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and that was so inspiring and yes, now I'm right. And what happens is the minute you walk in your front door, life happens, doesn't it? Your real life happens, and in some cases it hits you in the face. Real life kind of brings you back into, oh well, this is my life. And that's because it's so fleeting. We can only keep ourselves at that level of energy, ecstatic emotion, of feeling up. We can only keep ourselves up there for so long. Now, Tony Robbins can do it for 16 hours, keep being motivated, that is, and which is extraordinary. But it's actually having the skills and the ability to actually put it into action that will create the transformations that all the rah-rah does in a short time. So one of my gurus is, I love listening to Jim Rohn. He's just a funny little character. Listen to his YouTube things, and he's got a quirky way about him, which makes me feel good about being a speaker, because I know I'm got my little ticks and quirkiness as well. So it makes me feel okay. But he says if someone is going down the wrong road, he doesn't need the motivation to speed him up. He needs education to turn him round. So continue your education. I wish I had realised this point many, many years ago. I kind of had a negative experience with education. It wasn't easy for me. It was difficult to pass. So when I did finish school and finish my tertiary, I kind of went, oh, thank goodness. You know, that's that part of my life over. But I wish I had continued my journey of educating myself, and it wasn't until much later in life that I started on my own self-discovery of motivation, that I realised that actually learning is life learning, and it's a skill in reading that we should embrace. We should want to be a sponge and read as much as we possibly can. And Darren, if I can share with everyone, several years back, Darren made a comment to me and he said, on the topic of education, he said, I feel like I need to go back and learn something in history. I'm interested in the war, First World War, Second World War, just the history around it, what was happening politically. So his birthday was coming up. So I thought, right, I'll fix you. So I went to the university bookstore, where all the educational books were. I thought, that's where I'll go. And I found the biggest, thickest books I could find on, the first one on modern history, and the second one was Abraham Lincoln's, thank you. What is it called?
The one Obama likes.
Yes, it's Abraham Lincoln, and that was the book that Barack Obama, that was his favourite piece of work, and so I thought, right, I'll get him that. So, but you've read that, you've read it several times, haven't you? And you keep going back to it. So my point is, you know, if educating yourself or picking up a book and thinking, oh, gee, I'd really like to tackle the classics, you know, the British classics, or the classics, the great literary writers. If you make that a goal for yourself, what a wonderful thing to set yourself a goal of reading one book from the literary masters of this world, one book a month. You could be reading the works of amazing people and getting into the minds of amazing people over that course of a year. So it's not just the things that mean a difference to you in your personal life and your work life, it's the other stuff too that I'd like you to consider when you're setting yourself some goals, because it might just be, I'd like to set myself a goal of reading a book a month of the great literary greats, or a personal growth and development book once a month. Or you could even have a goal of putting a smile on someone's face every day, making a stranger smile. Now if we all did that, just that simple little thing, and it makes me cry thinking about it, if we all did that, how much happier would this planet be? It's getting deep, but it's so true. And it's those little things that we can do. You know, we're amazing. This human race is amazing. It's an amazing planet we live on, and we can all make a difference, and that could be your way of making a difference to this planet. So through education. Okay, let's look at what NLP is all about. So NLP really, and there's a chart here, and I'm going to break it up for you just so that we can make nice and easy sense of it. Because it's not something that's new. It's been around for a long, long time. And in actual fact, some of the theories and the methodologies behind NLP have come from the ancient Egyptians. So that's 2,000 years back. So some of the tools and the processes are from that. So it's not new learnings. NLP is a synopsis of many different psychologies. This is only a few. There's the behavioural psychologies and the clinical psychologies, and lots of others as well. So I just picked out a few of the main ones. Has anybody done anything in the area of psychology? No, you've done a little bit of...
Just in university.
Yeah, like there was a It's
psychology.
Okay. So Freud would have come up in that, yes. Okay. So Freud would definitely have come up when you were learning a little bit in any component of psychology, even if it was just for a semester. So really, the evolution of NLP is a huge body of knowledge from all these different psychologies. And at the top of your chart there, you'll see a list of people. So Pavlov, just a couple of them are worthy of note because it's how their theories are now applied in the world of NLP. So that is why I introduce you to them here. So Pavlov's behavioural psychology, for instance, he was the early 1900s, and he was the one that developed that theory, studied the brain reflex, and he developed the theory of the stimulus and response theory. Remember the Pavlov's dog, where he presented the dog with the plate of food and at the same time rang a bell, which produced the saliva response in the dog. And then he was able to take the food away, ring the bell, which then produced the saliva response in the dog. So from that theory, NLP has taken that, and that is where anchoring in NLP is from. So another example for you is Alfred Korzybski. He wrote a book called The Science and Sanity. So if you're wanting to add to your literature, then these are some books that you can read. And he was responsible for the theory of saying that the map is not the territory, and that was in the 1930s, and that has now become one of the bases of NLP, and we'll learn more about that in a little while. And then Galanta, he was somebody who he was instrumental in working on the structure of how a person does what they do. To give you an example, okay, I'd like you to add this up. I'll put it up here so you can see. Okay, what do you get?
55.
Mm-hmm. How did you add it up? 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4? Okay, so that's one way. Some people can see it this way, where there's 5 lots of 11 equaling 55. Who thought that? That's a bit mind-blowing, isn't it? That some people think like that. It really is mind-blowing for me. So some people can see numbers like that, and they see 5 lots of 5 equals 55. And that's how they arrive at 55. So, what did you see, Jay?
No, the traditional, but my husband thinks so.
Your husband thinks like that?
Yeah, mine too.
He does?
Yeah. Like
Wow.
he will do it, he will say 6, but actually not like that. I will be saying 10 and 9 and 1, 8 and 2, 7 and 3.
That's what
Then
I
it's
did.
easier and faster.
So by 10.
He always
Plus
see
1,
to do
8
it
plus
how
2,
to do
7
it
plus 3.
faster. Faster is 10.
Ah.
1 and 9, 20. 8 and 2, 30.
Yes.
7 and 3, 40. 6 and 4, 50.
Right.
55.
So there's another method as well, a third method we've just introduced. Beautiful. And that's really where I want to try and stretch your thinking, because then those two processes, this one and your husband's process, is actually the most effective and efficient and fastest way of getting there. And yeah, and that's really what we want. We want to get there the fastest, quickest, least effort, maximum results. So start thinking along that. So if you remember that one, That's fantastic. So he actually developed a model, this chap called Galanta, called the tote model, and we'll be exploring that as well. But it's basically the structure of how we do things. And then there's this chap called Miller, who is responsible for how we process information. And he was instrumental in determining that our brain is only able to handle 7 plus or minus chunks of information and hold that in our short-term memory at any one time. So that was his theory behind it, and from that we've developed some NLP structure. Now I want you to just move down a little bit further on that graph or that chart, and on the left hand side you'll see Richard Bandler, and then you'll see John Grinder underneath. So this is really where the world of NLP began. Richard Bandler, he was an academic. He was a maths graduate, he was a psychology graduate, and in his academic studies he was studying the work of Fitzpearl, and Fitzpearl was in the area of experimental psychology, and he was interested in the concept of taking personal responsibility for what happens in your life. So this is way back in the early 1900s, Fitzpearl's work. So Richard Bandler was fascinated with this work, and he, being an academic, he modelled the skills of Fitzpearl. John Grinder was actually Richard Bandler's professor, and he recognised the latent genius, if you like, of Richard Bandler, and was his professor in supporting him in this work that he was doing in studying and modelling the great psychologists and the areas of field of specialisms that was of interest to him. His aim was to write a book for therapists. So he was doing all of this study with the aim of writing a book that was going to help other therapists. He's an academic, so that was his aim. So he was interested in finding out who was the best in the field, and that's where he came across Virginia Satir. And at that time she was known as the godmother of family therapy in the States. So he actually formed a therapist training group, and they would sit in on Virginia Satir's therapy sessions and find out what it was that she did with her clients that was so successful. So he was modelling the success works of Virginia Satir, and he was also interested in the work of Milton Erickson. And just for interest's sake, Milton Erickson was the person who was responsible for taking hypnosis off of the stage and for it to come into the world of therapy in a respected way. So from all of that body of knowledge and that academic study, he wrote together, Richard Bandler and John Grinder wrote the book, The Structure of Magic. And from there he termed the phrase Neuro-Linguistic programming. And in that book then, that's where we have all of these wonderful jargon words that we refer to, such as eye patterns, hypnotic language, the strategies, reframing, subnormalities, and that becomes the language that we use within NLP to actually explain what the process is that we need to use in order to help our client get an outcome. Okay? So that's a really, really quick synopsis of NLP. Now to bring it into more current, the more current times, Gregory Bateson came along into the field. You could imagine this is the late 70s when everybody's experimenting and everybody's learning all these new methods, and people catch on. There wasn't social media, but people of interest really caught on. Gregory Bateson caught on, and he said, I've been doing work in the field of, I'm interested in what you guys are doing, because it's all about expanding their own body of knowledge. So then Gregory Bateson was working on things like language, inductions, and other patterns as well. Where we come into it with magnetic skills training and quantum change seminars is through the bottom line here, where there's Robert Dilts. And Robert Dilts actually joined Richard Bandler and John Grinder, and some other people came into the system as well, and they founded NLP Comprehensive, which was the first NLP institute. But like any institute, there's fractions and disagreements along the way. So there was a parting of the ways, and this is where it becomes difficult. You know, you will have Googled NLP, and you will have tried to find out which is the best NLP course for me to follow, and it's a bit confusing. Do I follow Richard Bandler? Do I go to Singapore? Do I go to the United Kingdom? Who do I follow? Jay rightly asked me what line of NLP do I follow? So it's a valid question, and it's only because really of this disagreement where people went off on their different paths, but it's all still the same body of work. And the line that we follow that is still around today, which is good to know, is the Robert Dilts, a chap called Tim Holborn, Nick LaForce, who I was trained with, and George Fadul, all follows this line of the Coaching Institute of California, which is the NLPCA. So the body of work that you are learning is from that lineage. And just for, I suppose, interest's sake, Richard Bandler went on to create Design Human Engineering, and John Grinder went on to create New Code NLP. When Anthony Robbins came along, he was actually the promotions event organizer for Jim Rohn. So you can imagine having Anthony Robbins as your promotion event organizer. So that's one of the reasons why Jim Rohn was so successful. But then that led Anthony Robbins to creating his own work of NLP. He wasn't allowed to call it NLP, so he called it NAC, Neuro-Associative Conditioning. So that's why there's this little bit of difference in what it's called. But it's all called NLP, underlining it. And George actually was instrumental. He was a student of NLP for 25 years, an avid reader and educator of NLP. And he... Fitzpearl, John Bandler. Sorry, I'll just... Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought I had a slide there. He actually termed this wording INLP because he wanted to advance it a little bit more in making sure that the integral part of the I in NLP was included. So he believed that, NLP was just sort of, okay, yes, it takes you to this level, but we need to make sure that it's all-encompassing, that it includes the I, and that I can be your spirit, but everything that's within us internally, that whole mind-body connection. And he wanted to make sure that NLP was presented and trained in that way. So that's why I refer to INLP in our trainings here. Does anyone have any questions on that? Is that clear for you? Because it's a little bit of a minefield. But it's important that you understand where the technology is that you're learning. It's not new. It is just born out of this huge body of knowledge. And it's just had names and labels put to the structure and the processes behind it. So George's definition of what INLP is that it's the study of how to integrally and linguistically affect a person's neurology in order to get your desired outcome. And I have a little YouTube video that I've discovered, thank you to Johan, that I'd like to show you. Okay, how do I get out of this? How do I get out of my screen?
You need to click the presentation.
I'll discard that.
So
Oh yes, YouTube. Okay. Aha, okay.
Then you make it into full screen.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, I know it's sort of blown up a little bit big, but we're going into your cells, into the deep recesses. And there we are, back again. So it's all encompassing. We're a beautiful beam of light. We connect out there with the universe. We're all part of it. We're full of cells and neurology, and it's just all part of us. So really think of it in terms of that integral point of view. Everything counts. Everything that we say, all our thoughts, all the little things count, the big things count too. Everything is important, and everything has an impact on what's out there, even out there in the universe, and we can make a difference. Right, that gets me back to there, and then I've got to go there.
Down one.
Oh yeah, oh no, you know. Oh, and then I just go to there, and then I go to. Oh, sorry. That's the one. How cool is this machine? Yeah. Do you want one? I want one. Yeah, it's fantastic. Okay. Okay, big tick. So that's an example of one of your big ticks. So this is what we'll just cover before we have a break, I think. Okay, So let's break down really what INLP is. Okay, so the I is for integral, that's intention. It's necessary for completeness in order for us to be able to complete something and move on. It's the I in our own identity, and it helps us remove barriers once we know how it works and we integrate it into the system. It advocates a holistic approach to the implementation of NLP. And Gosha, you'll be very much in the holistic approach with all of your health and fitness. Yes. Yeah. So you believe in all-encompassing.
Yes.
In what you do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everything as natural as possible.
Yes. Yes.
With both health and nutrition and fitness.
And that you can't have one thing without another.
Exactly.
You've got to be encompassing it's all a mind-body connection for everything. Yeah, great. Now the N is for the mind, and it's the way in which we experience what we see out there, and what happens, the events that happen, and how we actually experience it. And we experience it through our 5 senses. Our taste, touch, feel, smell, and what we see. So that's what we experience through our 5 senses, and it's how we actually process that information. And we'll talk more about that when we go through the communication model later on. The L is for linguistic, and that is the words that we use to label that experience. And that is through our non-verbal communication systems, which are our pictures that we use, our sounds, our feelings, our taste, our smell, and our self-talk. NLP always includes our self-talk, because that's what we listen to 80% of the time, is what we're telling ourselves. So it's really important, because it's our thoughts. It's our thoughts that actually drive our words, and our words drive our actions, and it's our actions that drive our habits, and our habits that forms our destiny. So it all starts there. And our P for programming is the patterns that actually delivers our outcomes. So it's what we actually do. And this is what we need to do, is learn to pause the program, like you've got a remote control, so that you can change a habit or something that you realise, that's not serving me. So you can learn to change the program, adjust it, pause it, try something new. So that's the essential makeup of INLP. It's integral. It's neuro, because it's to do with the mind. It is linguistic, how we use the words that we say, that has impact and influence, that drives what we do in our behaviour, that has the results that we get at the other end. And NLP will give you the mature judgment to be able to look at things from a different perspective. So that's when you can catch yourself and think, hang on, pause, I'm going to try something else, try something different. Always think of something in terms of there could be another way. There could be a third option. Not just the second option, we came up with a third option. And it's when you give yourself options that change can occur. And we'll talk about how you can go from a stuck state to a state of being able to move forward, find solutions, and redirect yourself as well. So think of it in terms of, we've all heard the analogies of whether or not somebody views their life or aspects of their life in terms of whether or not a glass is half full or half empty. And I think we all know people who think that a glass is half empty, don't we? Yeah, help yourself.
Thank you.
from an NLP perspective, our glass is not only half full, but it's overflowing with possibilities. So now I've just expanded you and given you a third option, that it's not just half full, but it's overflowing full of possibilities. And it allows you to stretch your mind, stretch your thinking to find those other solutions and possibilities. NLP is experiential, not really a definition. I'd like to give you a definition to demonstrate. So this is a definition that is straight out of the dictionary, and at the end of the definition, tell me what you think it is that I'm describing. Plant-eating, thick-skinned, hairless, long snout, large ears, flexible proboscis. What am I describing?
An elephant.
An elephant, yes, of course. But a definition of an elephant, and actually being up close and personal with the elephant is totally different. And I'll never forget this. See her leg? Dee Dee, her name is, and this is in Chiang Mai. And do you know how you scratch a dog and their leg goes, oh yeah, I like that? Well, that's what she's doing there. I just put the wire brush on her haunch here, and she put her leg out just like that, and I couldn't believe it. You know, it just meant I was connecting with this animal. It just felt absolutely amazing. And she was connecting by saying, oh, I like that. I'll have a bit more of that. It was, it was just an amazing emotional experience. And just Dee Dee is, she's part of a foundation where they're trying to save her from actually ever having to be an elephant that has a, what do you call it?
To have the car thing on the
Yes, to carry people. So she is a free elephant, but she's being cared for in a captive way, but free. So she'll never carry passengers on her back with those chairs. They call them chairs. So the actual place that you stay in, all the money goes back to making sure that Dee Dee never has to do that, and she loves just being washed by the guests all the time, and it's lovely. And if you've ever been kissed by an elephant, if you've never, you must do it once in your life. It is the most extraordinary thing. They sucker on with their end of their trunk, and it is exactly, and they give you a kiss. Just amazing. So. So connection, what we will learn is through our experiments and our exercises that we do, that it's not until you actually get to touch it, feel it, taste it, where it actually makes sense for you. So how extraordinary that we can talk to animals and communicate with animals without words, and we'll go into that too. Okay. Okay, so just to wrap up the whole NLP thing, Richard Bandler and John Grindler were the founders and actually termed it NLP through their body of work, and they said it's an art and a science as well. And they also said it's an attitude and a methodology. And by attitude, it is being curious about what it is that we do, what makes us tick, and have that attitude of curiosity and model what successful people do. You see, lots of seminars advocate following the 6 steps and the 7 steps of successful people, and there's been books written about it. Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, and then he wrote the 8th Habit. So people have been writing about these success principles for many years. So it's really having that attitude of modelling what other people do successfully, so that you can get to the quickest and shortest route in the and be most effective at your outcome. So there are some other definitions there on page 18, and you can read those yourself, and you can pick your favourite, and you can embody that, and that can be, that one speaks to me. I like that definition of NLP. That helps me to remember or to describe to somebody really what NLP is all about. So you can go through those definitions in your reading. This was the slide I was looking for, but that's okay. This chap, Ken Wilber, is the fellow that was responsible for George developing the I in INLP through Ken Wilber's work that he did in integral theory. And there's a whole body of work on integral theory. So just to illustrate to you the kind of chap this man is, and the authenticity and the quality of the training that I've been through and that you're going through. So, as that YouTube video depicted, everything starts on the outside, goes in the inside, is impacted by every cell in our body. Everything is ignited in neurology, and then it goes back out to the universe and comes back, and it's just one big whole. So that can be your spirit. That's why if somebody breaks a leg, and we all know people who have had an accident where they've had to be hospitalised, and it's taken them several months to get over. Some people can overcome it really, really quickly and easily. Once they're mended, that break is mended, they're very able to quickly go back to their the level that they were previously in their sport. If they were footballers and that kind of thing, regularly break a leg and come back by the end of the season, don't they? That kind of thing. Some people can get over it quickly, while others hang on to it. And that's usually because there is an emotional aspect to that injury that they haven't dealt with. It could be that they're blaming someone for that accident. So they haven't worked on the emotional. It's very touch sensitive. They haven't worked on the emotional side to help them to heal on the physical side. So it's everything matters. You need to address all areas, the mental, the emotional and the physical, which is concentrating on the head, heart and the physiology as well, because how we feel emotionally and mentally is going to affect my leg, and how long you carry that around with you. And then that's your head, and then that can become your identity. You can carry that around with you for life. That event that happened 30 years ago, you're still carrying it with you because you identify with that. You do have a choice to be able to, once you know, have the coping strategies and in order for you to heal that emotional debt so that you can move forward. So everything fits within three states: your internal state, your external state, and your internal processing of what it is that you're going through. I think that comes up later. So here's another little tester for you, a little brain teaser. I'd like you to tell me what you see.
The young lady and the old lady?
Straight away you saw it.
Yes.
Who saw the young lady first?
I was
Yeah? Who saw the old lady first? No. Who's still trying to find the old lady? Took me a while. Yeah, takes a while. Keep looking. I have to really look at it. Yeah, I got it now. You got it?
Not yet.
Okay. Focus on this.
Focus on the nose as well. The nose.
This huge.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
So then what it gives you is the two eyes are here,
Yeah.
her nose is here,
Yeah.
and that's her hair,
Yes.
hair there.
The nose can become the chin of the young lady who's looking at the sex.
I'm so used to touching this thing like this all the time, which drives Darren mad because I have fingerprints over it. I better not touch that. Yeah, so yes, the thing is they're both there. The young woman and the old woman, they're both there. So sometimes it just takes us a moment, an extra moment, to be able to see what else is happening. And if we sometimes do that in life, just pause for just a moment, think. It will enable us to allow for other thinking to come in, to think that there could be a different perspective here, rather than reacting, being reactionary, which is perhaps a anger response. Take a breath and think, I really want to yell at this person, I really want to tell this person what I think, I really want to disagree with this person, but if you just take a breath, you might be able to consider that there's a reason why that person is saying and thinking that or acting in that way. And it will help you to gain greater understanding of people, of situations, so that you can help them to be in a more resourceful state. So, you know how some people say black, and some people, just for the heck of it, will say the complete opposite. So they'll say white. That's understanding that and know that that's just what they do. You don't have to buy into it. So just by taking a moment to think, okay, now I know where this person's coming from. They're in this program in their mind is whatever I say, they're going to say the opposite. Then you can start to ask them to explore why they believe that, rather than coming back at them with the, no, you're wrong. So just taking a moment to consider that there's could be a reason why they're thinking and feeling that way. Take a moment to understand another person. That's really what this is about, because then that opens the doors for new possibilities and greater understanding, and then better communication with other people. So, on a personal point of view, who's ever had this experience where you've come home and you've been home all day and there's been lots and lots going on, and your partner or your family member has come home and they've had a tough day too, but you don't know that. You're caught up in your own world. And you're waiting for them to come home and they say, how was your day? You say to them, how was your day? And they just say, because they've had a rough day and they're tired and they just want to be home, they've said, oh, good, thanks. Then that person thinks, oh, I better ask them how they feel about their day. So they say, how was your day? And you say, oh, I'm glad you've asked. Well, it started at 9 o'clock when the phone rang and this happened and the plumber didn't come when they were supposed to. Then this happened, that happened. And all that just overloads the person who's just come home, who thinks, oh, no. So they were glad to be home until you gave a tirade of what you had experienced in your day. And now they feel, So take a moment, and you might deal with that situation a bit later and tell them that situation a bit later. But just when they walk in the door and they're glad to be home, then say, how was your day? And they say, good, thanks. You say, great, I'm glad you're home. Now, come and take your shoes off. I'll get you a drink, and we can sit down and talk about it. Talk about our days. Isn't that a much nicer way to do it? And it's learning those little differences and putting them into practice that can make a big difference in your relationships, in your communications, and in the way that you both can support each other in emotional feelings. Okay.